Okay, so we are up and going. So guys, welcome to this section. Like I mentioned earlier before, we have two sets of people in this group. The first set are, well, directly working with me, working with me directly on this project, while the second set will be kind of mentoring you, kind of my mentee. I'll be showing you how things or systems are being built. That's the idea. So this is already a built system, so don't worry about if you don't know what's going on here. That's the idea. I'm going to show you through everything, and I have a stack that I'm using. Stack means the technology that I'm using to build what I'm building. That's what stack means. So I've already introduced what I'm using some time back in the group. So I'm using Golang, or just Go. We call it Go. So what's Go for? Is backend technology. So there's a lot of things you can call it. It's used for quite a lot of things. Things that you can easily Google, I will just leave you to do it, right? So but things that you need to know about, I will go in depth and then explain. Things you might not necessarily get anywhere, I will just explain. So Go or Golang, so they are used interchangeably. So you can say Go or Golang. So we'll also be doing React, right? And React is a framework or utility tool or library, whatever you want to call it. It's not a programming language, right? But we'll be using React technology, and we'll be doing, well, I won't say JavaScript. We've advanced from JavaScript to TypeScript. For some of you guys that are my students, you know that I taught JavaScript extensively, well, to some points, but right now we will be doing something better, which is TypeScript. Don't worry, I know that in your mind you've not even finished JavaScript, we've moved to TypeScript. So TypeScript is sitting on top of JavaScript. What that means is that whatever you know in JavaScript is still valid for TypeScript. So TypeScript is a programming language that compiles to JavaScript. So no hustle there, no hassle. Then what other thing are we going to be using? I'm going to use Tailwind. So this is supposed to help us for CSS, right? Remember I talked about cascading style sheets. So this guy is supposed to help us beautify things, you know, a lot. And along the line, we're going to be using some tools to help us do all these things. Well, I won't be talking about those tools now. Those things will be things that we'll be discussing when we're handling innermost part of the whole thing. And our database will be my SQL, MySQL. So for some of you guys who've used MySQL before, MySQL. So you'll be seeing me using everything here to form one single package. I would like you guys to do something for me, especially those people that I'm mentoring directly, right? I told you guys you have two people on this platform. The people I'm mentoring directly, and the person that's working for me directly. So if you are working for me, you're on the right path. If you fall under my mentee, right, I'm mentoring you, this is for you. So I will be able to differentiate both, but you can also do both of them. Okay, now what is it I want you to do? Apart from the fact that I'm using a live production application, you could also have something for yourself. Say I want to create a Jumia kind of app. This is like an e-commerce website, right? Or an estate management system. So this can be something that you have at the back of your mind. So what does this do? It kind of helps you to, you know, build on what you've learned. Because this one I'm doing now, this project I have set up here will be for my own consumption, right? It's not something you can use and showcase people and show to people. No, you can't show people what I'm doing. However, you can be building your own. But this is what I will use for explanation, to explain things, to explain concepts, to explain how things are done. Remember, I said this is an introduction session, to be very brief, but I will still need to touch base on one thing here. There are several things, well, few things that I've listed out here, we can pick one and run with it. Some will not have their dedicated session. Like MySQL will not have a dedicated session. It will be sitting inside the backend section, right? So I will not dedicate a session for MySQL like that. You will just see how we use it to connect to a live server. That's what you'll be seeing here. So you see us use React, you see us use TypeScript, but not JavaScript, kind of. Well, it might, show itself inside, here like this. We will also do, CSS, but I won't really, start showing CSS as the case may be. We will do more of Tailwind, and this is in line with what is inside React. So this guy will be more of like this. So the tree will be like this. Inside TypeScript, we will do React, we will do Tailwind. We can plot the whole thing any which way you want to go. Okay, so let's pick. We have a system. Now let's go with theory. Let's start with theories. Because most times people always want to jump into the code. Let's see the code. Hold your horses. We have several, time to do that, to show you code. Code is the last thing you want to think about. If you don't understand what you are going into, the code will be useless, right? So let me close all these guys to help you. Now, the first thing we want to do is to look at how does the architecture of an app generally look like. How do you architecture an app? I think I created a README file some time ago, and we're going to use the README file to talk about what is going on here. Remember I said that we're going to be using a live project, right? Ignore what the project is doing. Well, this is what the project is doing. Is an HR application. So that's just it. You can go and check what HR application does. So it could either be any kind of application. It doesn't have to be an HR application. It can be any kind of application. But we need to define something. I did mention that we have tech stack. Tech stack are the technology they are using to actualize the application you are building. So here I've mentioned what I'm using. You can see now I'm even expanding it more, right? I'm not only using Go, I'm using some framework within Go. So I'm using Gene. Don't worry about these guys. I'm using Gene. I'm using GoROM. That's Go ORM. ORM is another technology entirely. All these things will be explained, and then you will get to understand those things. Anything that I explain, make sure you do research on them. The way mentoring works is not that I will do all the work. I will open your eyes, and then you will go. I will point you to direction, to some places, and what do I expect you to do? To investigate, right? To seek further knowledge, and by doing so, what will happen? You will know. And then you are supposed to also ask questions. Why is it done this way? Why can't we use this method? That's where you engage me, right? I will do all the talking. I will give you all the things you need to use and things like that. And you're supposed to also push forward to make all those things come to life. Okay, so I've already broken down this, right? So this is more of like, kind of going nitty-gritty on it, which is fine. So these are the two things. These are the things I'm using, right? There are still some small things I made use of, but when we get into the app, you will see it. Now on the front end is what people see. Of course, I know by now you should know what backend means. Backend is what is not visible to the user, is where the magic happens. While the front end is what is visible to the user, right? This one is what's visible to the user. Okay. So from the front end, there are technologies that we're also using as well. You've seen, okay, I missed out on some things here, but that's fine. So on the front end, we are going to be using Vite. Vite is, I think they call it Vite. Vite. Okay. Just ignore my pronunciation. So we're going to be using Vite. For the people that have gone through my classes, I've taught this extensively. I will share with you guys some YouTube page, of the courses I have here. You can go through them, because what we are doing here is practical. I'm not teaching you concepts. I'm showing you practical approach. So if there's something you need to know first, I will refer you to those videos, and you can get yourself up to speed, right? If I introduce something that I did not capture in the video, that would be a point or a learning point, for me, or a time for me to showcase the concept in a new class or in our future class. Now, we are going to be using TypeScript, and another thing I didn't mention was the shard CM. So this guy is a UI framework. Remember, I taught Bootstrap for my students. I did Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is not bad, but this is way sophisticated. Provide nice looking UI. I can just quickly show you what that looks like so that you have an idea of what we are talking about, as in what that is. So I'll just open the site just like Bootstrap. Remember, you guys did Bootstrap. So this is the site, and what it just do is just UI, components and what have you. So if you are building apps, there are some times you want to deal with text boxes. You need something that just works, that does all these things for you. So instead of you designing it from scratch yourself, you could just use this guy, and then installation, the usage and everything is what is covered. Now the idea is that this system is supposed to use mobile, but that's a long story. We're not going to be talking about that. Okay, why did I show you this readme file? The purpose of showing you this readme file is to talk about the approach I've decided to take to set up this project. This style of project is called Monolithic Application Setup. So what is Monolithic Application Setup? Is in a case whereby all your stuffs are in one place. All your projects are in one place. So what do you mean by all your projects are in one place? Are they not supposed to be in one place before? Well, technically, not really. So you can have a folder that is designated to front-end person, like somebody can be doing this, right? Another person can be doing this. So that means you have two different projects. A monolithic application combine both of them together, and then they form one single thing. And that's what we are doing here. We have a monolithic application. This is the application folder. So this could be called H. That could be the name of the project, whereby inside the folder you have all the things that has to do with the backend. So don't worry about what's inside though. Don't read anything here, just don't worry. So what we are doing here now is that I'm explaining the structure of the project to you. And the structure of the project is called Monolithic App or Project. Write that down. You can Google it to know more about it. There are different types. You can do monolithic or single project app. So I have the backend and all the whole structure, one thing. Then I have the front end. Well, I call this web front end. So it can be called front end, but I call it web. There's a reason why I call it web, so that I can also have mobile, the mobile version. So this is like the mobile version, but I'm not doing mobile yet. I'm using another method that will bring us to further deeper topic, because what I'm doing on this project is something that can take you almost 5 years to know, in terms of I can't just lay everything down on you like that, boom. That would be unfair. So there's quite a lot of things going on in this folder, in this project. I'll still show you the folder structure. This is just the readme file to document the folder and what is going on, right? Okay, so there are quite a lot of things getting started, how to use the project, what the project is supposed to have in itself. It's supposed to have employee management, leave management, all these things, all these good and nice things. It's supposed to have it. So, and putting all this together, I still make it have Docker. Well, most of you guys are still new. You might not know what Docker is. Docker is a containerization system that allows you to put your projects or make you easily package your project into a container where it can easily be deployed. Don't worry, we'll get to that. There's quite a lot of things we'll be picking. So, and that's why I'm using this project. So we'll be taking it, dicing it gradually. Okay, so this readme file does not do justification to the folder structure because that was just a document. And if you can see, these are the folders or the files. This is the root file, and I will explain each of the folder and we'll be done for today. I'll just talk about the folders and we'll be done. We're not going to write any code. We're not going to see any UI. Don't worry. No time to, you don't need to be in a hurry. I will explain everything. Let's start. Now we have the GitHub folder. So the GitHub folder is supposed to be for Git actions. That is, I don't know if you guys have heard about CI/CD. That's DevOps. Yep, for DevOps purpose. So anytime I mention something something new, please, you guys should be taking notes. So DevOps is something new, not new to you, not new to the world, but I'm sure it will be new to you. You might not have heard that word before. So DevOps, this workflow, Git action for GitHub. Another thing you need to have by now is a GitHub account. So if you don't have a GitHub account, after this class, go and set up your GitHub account. Go and register. So it's just Google GitHub and then register your account. So we'll pick it up from there. I also have a video on GitHub, so I'll share it with you guys. So that's what we are starting with there. And the purpose of this is to automate your deployment to your server. For short, that's it. What I'm doing is I'm explaining the folder. All these things, you are not learning it one day. It's gradually. So most of those folder will serve dormant and you will not know their use for a very long time. It's fine. So when you need to know their use, I will explain them. When you get to that level, I will explain them. So but I have to show you everything in the field. So this is PNPM store. When we were doing React, I talked about Node.js. Yeah, Node.js and NPM for those people that we did React with. So we also have a React class, React video. I'll share it with you guys. And NPM is a package manager. There's also another one called PNPM. So that's what I'm using here for short. So it created a kind of temporary file so that it can be used to do some install and lookup or whatever. So this is a temporary file which automatically creates by itself. I'm not the one that created it. In fact, this one itself is also a temporary file. I didn't create it. So it's from Git action that it came up. But of course, you have to write the code for this. When we get to that part, we'll cross it. This is VS Code stuff. Ignore it. Now, this is getting interesting. I did mention something around here when I talked about mobile, even though I skipped it. There are several ways in which you can create mobile applications. One of the interesting way is using React Native. And React Native, when you decide to use React Native, you can either use Expo or you go through the React Native routes. You connect. It's a long story. So Expo makes it super easy. Anybody using React Native is using Expo with it, right? And there are other methods you can use to also create mobile application. The method I'm using is Capacitor. Capacitor is the method I'm using to create mobile app. The reason why I didn't talk about that in the beginning is I don't want to overwhelm you guys with a lot of technology, but I'm using Capacitor. So those are the things that we'll be talking towards when you must have solidified your knowledge, in quite a lot of things. So when you generate the code using Capacitor, guess what happens? It creates this folder for you and it bootstraps the mobile app for you automatically. So this is a whole lot of stuff and it's working, by the way. This Android mobile app is working, right? So, and it also generates for iOS. So you see the two of them here, Android and iOS. So it's just one command line, it generates that, and then you can build your apps, right? We'll get to that. Now the backend, infamous backend, our Golang, I won't even open it. Golang sits here. The next one is supposed to be a dev note for me to create notes and say, oh, this is what we need to do. So just look at it as a note for me to add features. So this is just documentation, self-created documentation. The next one is Docker. Docker is a container. So for Docker, you need to write an image. I'm not teaching Docker now. Once we are talking about it, I will explain how Docker works. But this is Docker for my backend and Docker for my front end, right? And then this, serves as icons because I'm doing Android and iOS, I need to maintain icon set, blah 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 blah. So it contains the icon for the app. Right, this is the icon for the app, and then it's used to generate the resources or the resources needed for iOS and Android. There's a command you can run which will automatically generate all the icons you need. So there's a lot of automation that will be going on in the system. So node modus, this is also from Node.js. So you can see that is disabled or is hidden, so you don't need to worry. So this one is also coming from these icons. They work together. So capacitor generated this code. So this is to specify the icon, the splash screen, and then the splash screen dark and light. This is also working with a mobile application. So these are auto generated. So nothing to worry about. Now the shared is very, very interesting. This is where automation meets. This is what I call meta programming. So I know I'm saying a lot of big words. So you can Google meta programming. It's not meta this thing now. It's not meta Facebook framework. So meta programming is, well, let me read this one. It's a program you wrote to write a program. I'll repeat that again. Meta programming is a program you write to write a program. Before AI came up, we don't do AI before. So it's a long story. Once I get there, you will get to see it. So it's a code generations. Code get generated here automatically. Generated, and it's being used inside the app. You get there and then you understand. So the code is being used by other people, by the web, and in the future, React Native will be able to use it. So this is the web. This is like the front end application. So this is infamous Vite setup. So I'm not gonna go through it. And yeah, done. Other ones are just static file. I don't want to start explaining the file gradually. So when we start looking at each of the application, when we want to start, we then look at the file individually. So that's everything that we need to look at. This is the capacitor I'm talking about that set up the mobile application. This is the Docker, and that's how you start your app for the first time. So that summarizes what we'll be doing. Now the assignment for you, or the take home for you, what you need to do over this week is that during the weekdays, I'll be posting things to the group on what you guys need to do, right? So that, and you can be sending your questions, and so that I know that you guys are following and what have you. What you need to do is, number one, if you've not set up a Visual Studio environment, go and do that. This is a Visual Studio environment. Go and have this set up, right? I will share this repo with you guys so that you can also have access and look at what's going on. I'll share the repo. If I can share this repo, I'll find a way to see what we can do, because you also need to have a running platform similar to mine to use to know what is going on. Like I mentioned to you, this can be overwhelming. This is a whole lot of code to see at the same time, but no fear, don't be afraid. I'm here to guide you through everything. One of the ways that it will help is to have a project at the back of your mind that you're using to learn, so it will help. Okay, at this point I will take questions. If you guys have questions, and then we'll call it a day. This is supposed to be an introductory class. During the course of the week, I will send you guys videos that you guys will go through, and the purpose of that is such that you understand the way the codes are supposed to be written, the courses that I covered, as in what I covered in the code and what have you. So, question please.
Are you hearing, sir?
Come again?
Are you hearing, sir? You said you set up a GitHub.
Yeah, GitHub, yes.
Yes, sir. I have my, but I've messed it up because I created it just to play around with it
No,
I've messed it up.
No, you can't mess it up. Don't worry. It's just send a screenshot of what you've done. So maybe what you are talking about, maybe you messed a file up or a folder up. So, but your account is your account, right? So maybe what you messed up was a project. So it doesn't really, yeah, it's, your account is your account. Nothing, don't go and be creating a new one. What you just need to do is to start a new project or something. Just delete that project and start a new project. So I know learning GitHub is another thing that people don't really know that they have to do. Before you can be taken serious, you have to be using GitHub. GitHub is like the entry point to do anything in tech. If you're, say you're a tech person and you don't have a GitHub account or you're not using GitHub, poof, no more. There's a lot of, and those are the things you will be seeing me do, because I maintain all my code are in the repo. I can push, I can comment. We're gonna talk about that. So there will be times where we'll pick on topics and we'll talk about that. FMD, I remember you were like, what are we gonna do in terms of what are we gonna learn? And one of the things I kept saying was that we can't pick on one topic or one programming language forever. You have to learn other parts of the trade. So if you are struggling with a particular technology, we know that that one is there. So once you are trying to build a particular program, we can check the problem. And the good thing now is that there's AI. I don't know about you, but AI has made a lot of things easy. It doesn't replace your learning, by the way, don't get it twisted. You still need to learn it. Even though it can show you stuff, that thing it shows you might not be the actual, it might be an issue inside the code. So you need to learn how it did that. It's like you told AI to write a letter to you, it now made a grammatical error, even though we don't see grammatical error when you tell your AI to write stuff for you. But sometimes it might miss yarn. It might miss yarn. Like, no, that's not what I want to say. Exactly the same way with coding. If you tell it to do something for you, so because you said you don't know how to code, you might just accept it like that as the real thing. So it does not excuse you not learning coding. You still need to learn coding. In fact, coders are sorted after now more than ever before, because all the code that the AI is generating, who is going to review it? It's not coders. So are still going to review it. Programmers are still going to review it. So programmers are sorted out of even more than before. There's a lot of harm that AI has done now. In case you don't know, AI has done more harm now than good, right? Because most people just generate AI code and they expect that it won't have any problem forever. So what we'll be doing next is, like I said, we'll be picking topics on what we will be doing. This whole project is a big project. I might pick Git. Maybe the next topic we're gonna work on is GitHub, since that's an entry point. We'll talk about GitHub, how to use GitHub, and I expect you to run with it, right? So what I mean I expect to run with it is, once we pick a topic and I've given you the basics, I'm gonna show you how to use it. I expect you to use your own. That's why I said you need a personal project, to use your own personal project to test and see how to use it, right? Very important. And this video is being recorded. You're supposed to watch it over and over again, until you get what it's trying to say. And if at some point you missed it, you can always reach me, and then ask what was my intention when I was